Everybody does this blues lick, so I'm going to show you how I do it. I usually put a C in there, and you can play piano with if your fingers are hurting or something. This is really great for arthritis. I need to work. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So just don't forget about it. This is really a good thing for people if you get a little older, and I'm like 60 something. So when you get older, I do woodwork, so that does help me quite a bit. But your joints, uh, they start stiffening up, and you got to fight that. I don't know what it is about. I'm not a doctor or anything, but the thing is, playing the piano will help you quite a bit. Uh, it helps you actually stay younger. It helps your mind think too. Um, so, anyways, um, so that's a little hand, and I think that's uh, it's one of his first. I think that's I want to think that's $5.99 for beginners. Okay, and in Hannon, I'm a beginner. Okay, um, I read music and I read it poorly, but I'm reading it much better than I used to read it. I've been reading music for like 40, 50 years. I started out when I was like, I don't know, 12 or 13, maybe 14. And I've had a journey, and I do calculus for fun, and reading music has been a struggle, but one day I put my mind to do it, and I have learned so many things, and I can pass those on to you. One of the things that I want to get to you is every good boy does fine, and I'm off subject here. We'll get back on this other thing in a minute, but forget every good boy does fine. Once you memorize it as a crutch. Memorize it as a crutch. Okay, there's nothing wrong with memorizing it. It's a mnemonic, and it helps you memorize. In a crutch, you'll want to, but after a while, you'll realize that every time I had to stop, or you have to stop and think every good boy does fine. Why think that? Just think that's EGB. That's E minor. Okay, that's for the somewhat advanced, but if you're reading music for a while, you might have picked that up. And you see something down there that says, and you see something that says CEG. You don't see it. You're in the bass clef, and you see something that is, and it's two things down, and you're going like, oh, if that was just there at E, I could figure it out. And then you have to backtrack and say E and try to say every good boy does fine backwards. That's really fine. Actually, you're in the spaces. You're in the it's reversed because the spaces become the lines become spaces. Okay, so don't memorize this thing as every good boy does fine and faces and spaces and all that stuff. That will hurt you in the long run. Okay, because what happens is you're sitting there going, and you sure will, and you'll go like, uh, I don't know that note. I don't know those chords. I don't know where that's at. Instead of stopping everything you're doing, at that point you should be just practicing. Okay, so you go like, okay, I'm going to look at that note. And if you don't know that note, try to memorize that note that day. I know that's kind of hard, and I don't practice that all the time, but hardly never. But if you memorize one note a day, and there's only about 28 notes you need to know, and you know probably about 10 or 15 of them right now by heart. So all you have to know your notes uh, perfectly, you should be able to learn all your notes within 30 days. Okay, let's just say you're not the most brilliant person. I'm not the most brilliant person. I'm fairly smart, but I'm not a Mozart. Mozart smokes me. Okay, or it did smoke me. Okay, um, and almost anybody watching this is probably not a Mozart. That's a really humbling fact when he could put something together, just go by, listen to it once, and play all 11 parts, flute, write the music, and everything like that. Very humbling. Okay, so that really puts everything in perspective. I don't care almost any rock star, anything when they put up against Mozart. I don't think Beethoven and Bach were as talented when it came to that quick study. But I don't know. I'm not an expert, but I hear this about Mozart. And if it was Beethoven, Bach, none of us in reality, even though we play great and everything like that, very few people are at that level. And if they are, they're probably teaching or something, you know. So, so getting back to that, I'm ranting a little bit here, but forget about the every good boy does fine. You've learned it. Now start writing things out. Go to a, 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 a score and put away those books that if you can't. I did this. I've been putting away books that are beyond me. And Paul, you said beyond you. Oh, this confession's good for the soul, they say. I've got a lot to get as good as I want to get. I can teach a lot of things. I know a lot of things, and I've given many people advice on instruments throughout the years. But reading music has always been um, my failure. And since I have learned uh, what what to study and how to study it and learn some discipline. When I get on the piano, I sit there and read music for hours. Okay, I'm working on Alla Turca by Mozart, some Beethoven pieces, some Bach pieces, and sometimes the littlest things, minuet in G, try to get that down just right. Try to get all that timing down just right. Be happy with the small advances. Okay, I'm done with that. Where was I? Okay.